Hey everyone, I'm Eric Bowman, editor-in-chief for TravelPulse.com, and welcome to Travel Advisor Tea Time, the show where travel advisors spill their thoughts on hot topics in the travel industry. And joining us on Tea Time today is Courtney Berthelsen, owner of Salt Sanctuary Soul. Welcome to the show, Courtney. Cheers.
Oh, oh, there we go. It was blurry.
Hmm.
Thank you for having me,
Yeah,
Eric.
I'm glad to
I'm
have you
happy to be
on.
here.
It looks like a
Yeah.
homemade mug. We always appreciate a good mug there
Yes.
here on Tea Time. So today's topic is all about sustainable travel. It is Earth Month. Earth Day was just passed. So Courtney, we're gonna dive right in. What's hot in the sustainable travel space?
Ah, this is actually one of my favorite topics because I think in today's travel climate, sustainable travel is actually evolving in many different speeds. And being on this side of things as a travel advisor and operating a travel company, it's very interesting to see what travelers are kind of attaching themselves to sustainable travel or not necessarily knowing what sustainable travel is. I think the hottest in sustainable travel right now is this push for slow travel, which means many different things, but really immersing yourself in the area that you're going. So, what we're seeing is more of a shift of not so much the highly itinerized trips or the fast moving on a 5 day itinerary, but clients that actually want to settle in, they want either an eco stay, which I'll get into, or a homestay or a longer stay for a week plus, and not necessarily, filling their travel days with so much activity, but actually kind of doing like what the Parisians do, or like what we're doing, Eric, is sitting and having a tea, at a roadside cafe and just people watching, really feeling like truly they are a local. I was just mentioning eco stay, what I'm personally seeing as a pattern of hotness. What's another word for that? Popularity with my travelers is they aren't necessarily gravitating towards, the large all-inclusive or the large big box locations, but they do want something, again, with that local flair or that local touch. So, that may look like an eco farm stay or, a bed and breakfast, again, where they're really meeting the locals. Um, and then just to talk on, sustainability in the broader sense, it moves, I was chatting about the slower travel with, really immersing their stay, but also, we're seeing more travelers that do feel brave doing trains, walking more places, the active travelers that are biking, not necessarily taking planes from point A to point B, really eliminating their carbon footprint on that aspect. And then I do have to say this, but what I think is so fun that I'm seeing with a lot of travel advisors on my side is they've been doing a lot of packing videos or packing tutorials or, light packing on, how you can do 2 weeks at a carry-on. That is sustainable travel too. Less plastic, not checking bags, having things reusing. So there's a lot of sustainable travel, that's intertwined in just packing and not necessarily where we're staying or how we're doing it. And how am I doing on time? Because I actually want to talk about one more thing that just popped in my
Yeah,
mind.
what else is trending that you're seeing in the
I
space?
think also another piece, and I should have wrote all of this down beforehand, but I think another piece that is really common is people really wanting that cultural approach. So another thing that I'm seeing is very culinary focused. So again, that local,
Hmm.
really hyper local experiences is being kind of trickled down into almost community centric tourism. And then on another piece, group travel is having a comeback, which is sustainable in and of itself, where um, you know, you travel together in one vehicle.
Yeah. not looping up. I think the traveler is definitely more conscious and more aware of, their carbon footprint or how they're making an impact, especially those that have the desire to go slow and, try to and fully dive into that immersion experience. So that's what's hot, but what's the tea here? What's not hot?
What's the tea? I think it's just everything in the opposite sense that I just said. I think, personally, and there may be an uproar from, me saying this, but it's just personally with my clientele. But all-inclusive resorts, yes, it's easy, but, I think people are also looking for kind of their bang for their buck. The fast checklist travel, I don't think is, really that hot anymore. Um, and what else did I say? Like the jet setters, that theme is just really not, what you're seeing. I also think too, marketing and the way that travel advisors are just getting smarter about how they're talking about travel, is interesting where things are just more integrated. For example, a word that we used to hear growing up was volunteerism, travel that you can go and you volunteer. But a lot of those things are already integrated in what we do. For me, as an example, I partner with tourism cares. So already by traveling with me, you are doing good. So as a traveler, yes, cool. My dollars are going further by traveling with Salt Sanctuary Soul, but it's not necessarily this feeling of volunteerism. So these larger words or these labeling, that you used to see, I don't think is being used anymore.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing some businesses too take a further step beyond what we saw maybe as when we were growing up, the greenwashing effect, which is still, in existence for a lot of places out there, but you're seeing a lot more of the bigger brands maybe take a bit further step beyond that, which is certainly needed. There's certainly a lot of talk in the sustainability and the eco travel space, so more action is what I would certainly like to see, especially from the business side of things.
Yeah. It's being savvy, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So as we wrap up here on tea time, what's your closing advice to travel advisors when it comes to eco travel and sustainability?
My closing advice would be, to tread light, to leave things better than you found it. Really do your homework in a location, not necessarily the country, but um, vet your partners, make sure they're singing the same tune that you are, and know that it really begins with education, talking to your clients about it and knowing that that communication will be hopefully, plant a little seed in their mind with how they're going to act or show up in the location that they're traveling.
Great sound advice. Appreciate it, Courtney. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to jump on tea time and share some wisdom when it comes to eco travel and sustainability. So our description will be, our information will be in the description below. You guys, if you want to reach out and get in touch with Courtney, or if you'd like to be on tea time in the future, hit me up and maybe we can cook something up. And always remember, be good to the planet out there, right?
Cheers.
Cheers.
Take care.